Welcome to our English class, Aprender a Estudar em Casa. My name is Alina Sancha and I am your English teacher. Our class today is going to be about if clauses. We are going to learn the 4 types that exist. So we are learning type 0, type 1, type 2, and type 3. So as I told you, there are 4 types of if clauses. They are all similar in a way. They all have the if part or the hypothetical part and the main clause. What do you see here? It's just to show you how it works, how if clauses work. What you see there is someone squeezing a lemon, right? And now, after you squeeze a lemon, you get a lemonade. So these 2 things depend on each other. If you don't squeeze lemon, there's no way you can get lemonade, right? So they are all connected together. There is no way you have one, you can't have the results if you don't have the hypothesis. Today we're going to look at conditionals. Some conditional, like the 0, 1, actually happen. There's no way, if you have the conditional, that you don't get the result. The conditional, this is the 0 conditional. The conditional 1, you have what could happen. So we have what happens, what could happen, what we wish would happen, and also what might have happened. So each conditional expresses one of these situations. So let's start with 0 conditional. 0 conditional, let's start with conditionals in general, how it's formed, and then we go to each type of conditional. So let's see how conditional is formed. So we have the if clauses, that is the hypothesis, and this if clauses is followed by the main clause, that is the result. Okay? All the 4 types have the same thing in common. What are the things they have in common is we have if clauses, that is the hypothesis, and then we have the main clause, that is the result that you get for certain action. Okay? So, note. Let's check this note. The note says when the if clause comes before the main clause, we have to use a comma. So the comma separates the 2 sentences. Okay? But if I follow the rules, comma, I will be safe. You see? If I follow the rule, and then you have a comma, I will be safe. That's the result of following the rules. But this is what happens. When the main clause is before the if clause, we don't use any commas. So the same sentence goes now in different order, but we don't have any commas here. So I will be safe if I follow the rules. Because the if clause doesn't come first, this means that there is no need for comma. So if you start the sentence with if clause, then you put a comma and then the result clause. Or if you start with the main clause and if goes in the middle, no need for commas, right? So let's see now the zero conditional. What does zero conditional express? Zero conditional is very pretty forward, because with zero conditional there is no way you have the condition and you don't have the results. So what do we use it for? We use zero conditional for general truth or even scientific facts. Okay? Zero conditional goes for general truth and scientific facts, which means if you have a condition, you will have to have the result. And it can be if or when. You can express it with when because the result is so certain. So it says if or when plus present simple, comma, present simple. This is the form. When do we use it? To say that something is true. Right? It's true or it's a scientific fact. We use zero conditional. So it can be for habits, it can be for truth, or it can be for facts. So it's always true with zero conditional. Even if we say if, we also can say when, because the results are going to be always the same. Example, if or when we don't water plants, what happened? You have a plant and you don't put any water in your plant. It dies, right? Or what happens if you heat butter? Is there any way that you can put fire and put butter on it and it doesn't melt? No, that's a fact. So when it's a fact, it has to happen, we use zero conditional. So let's see the type 1. Type 1 is also called real conditional. Okay? And what's the form? Yes, if plus present, comma, present. We can also use modal verbs in the result clause. So it's for something that will likely happen. Okay? Different from zero, in zero conditional, we saw that it has to happen. In the first conditional, it's likely to happen. Okay? For example, if you use your gadgets all the time, you will waste a lot of time. Okay? Because when you use gadgets, we forget about the world. So the result of using our gadgets a lot is likely to waste time. If you send a nude photo to someone, it may spread on internet. So we talked about it last class, and we saw that when you sext and, for example, you dump your boyfriend, it's likely that he's going to spread your pictures. And you know there are lots of pictures of girls on the internet, so don't do that. So we often use first conditional to give warnings, to tell people what happens if they do things, to threaten people. And the example says, if you don't stop, I tell your mom. So these are the uses of conditional type 1. It's real condition. You are likely to get the result, okay? And it's different from 0, because 0, the results are guaranteed. So let's see the conditional. That is the use of unless. So unless is only used in type 1. And how do we use it? We can use unless plus affirmative verb or if plus negative verb. They have the same meaning. The construction is a little bit different, but they are the same. Let's see the example. Unless you put your phone away, we will be late. And the same sentence using if says, if you don't put your phone away, we will be late. So we substitute the word if by unless, but only in type 1. And the verb goes in affirmative. And if you use if, the verbs goes in negative. Is it clear? Okay, let's see other types of conditional. I told you we have 4 types. So the second conditional, we use it for unreal present and to give advice. And the form is if plus simple past and comma, we use would or other modal verbs here in the past, okay? So we can say would, could or might plus infinitive without to. The uses, we're going to imagine a situation, okay? The situation is not real. It's all here in our head. It's our imagination. If you studied more, you wouldn't fail. So what's the truth? The truth is you don't study. So what happens? You fail. If I were you, I would tell your mom the truth. What I'm doing here, I'm giving you an advice. Tell your mom the truth. That's the best thing to do. If I were you, that's what I would do. So here is an advice. And another thing is, if you knew what's happening, you wouldn't be smiling. So it's only imagination, because the truth is that you are smiling because you don't know what's happening. Okay? So let's see the second conditional notes. We can use were instead of was in all persons. You know that you have studied I was, you were, he, she, it was. In conditional, you can use were with all persons, okay? So if I was or if I were wiser, I wouldn't spend so much time on the internet. So here with I, you can use both was or were, but it's more common to use were, okay? Use if I were when you want to give someone advice. If I were you, I would stop worrying about her. She doesn't want help, so you are worried for nothing. You can also use could in the if clause. For example, if I could change the world, it would be a better place. The truth is, I'm imagining because I don't have the power to do it. Okay? And the third conditional, the last one, it's the fourth type. How are we going to use it? It's the unreal past conditional. It's all unreal. And we think what would happen in the past and the possible results. But the truth, it's not going to happen because past is past. So the form is if plus past perfect or past perfect continuous plus would or could or might have plus past participle of the main verb. I'll show you an example and it gets simple to understand. Use your imaginary situation that is not the truth. Something that happens a lot is people telling you, I passed by you and you didn't greet me. What do we say? If I had seen you, the truth is I didn't see you. But in the past, if I had seen you, then I give you the probable result. I would have greeted you. If you hadn't lied to me before, I would have believed you. But the truth is I don't believe you because I know you lie. So let's see the contractions. And here we can see that both would and had, when you contract them with the verb, they become only a D. But how are we going to know if it's would or had? So remember that would never appears in if clause. Okay? So if you say see would in if clause, or the in if clause, you know that is had, the abbreviation for had. And had never appears before have. We cannot say had have. We say have had, but not had have. So if it appears on a pronoun, it is the abbreviation of would. If you'd given me your email, I'd have written to you. So you see here the D and the D here. So if and D, remember, never appears in if clause. So it has to be if you had given. And the D here before have has to be would have. Okay? So this is an exercise just to make it clear in your mind because it's a lot of things going on. So let's check if you can do this exercise. Are you ready? I know you have your notebooks and your pens and pencils and your erasers, so let's do it. If she had worked harder on her CV, she would get or she would have got the job. What do you think? If she had worked, she would have got. So we have here had, so it's the third conditional. When an eclipse happens, animals act strangely because this is what happened. It's a fact. So it has to be zero conditional. If an asteroid hits the Earth, it will cause a lot of damage. What do you think? Will cause or causes? It will cause. It's the probable. If James drank more water, he will be or would be healthier. Drank, simple past. What do you think? Will be or would be? Exactly, would be. If you had left earlier, you won't be or wouldn't have been late for work. It's the third conditional. Wouldn't have been late for work. And 5 more sentences. When astronauts are in space, they wear or would wear special suits so they can breathe. They wear. If you had been more careful, past perfect, you wouldn't have dropped or you wouldn't drop my tablet. You wouldn't have dropped. If a black hole appears in our solar system, our planet would have been or will be. So appears here, third person singular. What do you think? Will be. If we had more money, had simple past, you will buy or we would buy. Would buy, exactly. And last but not least, if we hadn't sent rovers to Mars, he wouldn't have learned or he wouldn't learn so much about it. So hadn't sent. What do you think? Exactly. Wouldn't have learned. Your classroom teacher is going to do more exercises with you so that you can understand this better, okay? So, today, what have you seen? We had seen that there are 4 different types of if clauses. We had 0, that the results happen if you have the hypothesis. We have first, that is probably what's going to happen. We have second conditional, that is we imagining, and we have the third conditional that will never happen because we didn't have the hypothesis in the past, and the past is the past. We have come to an end of another English class, 12th grade, of Aprender a Estudar em Casa. So I hope you have enjoyed our class, and I am very excited about teaching you. So see you next class.